I want you to imagine, just for a second, a very specific kind of frustration.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where a completely life-saving medication already exists. Like, it's out there.
Hmm.
The exact biological key to unlock a cure for a disease, maybe something you or someone you love is fighting. It is real, but it is entirely theoretical.
Right. It exists as a concept.
Exactly. It exists as a concept, but actually getting that medication out of the realm of theory and into your literal medicine cabinet is blocked.
Yeah, and it's a massive block.
Right. And it's not blocked by a lack of desire. It's blocked by a decades-long, impossibly expensive guessing game. The cure is hidden somewhere in this massive pile of possibilities, but finding it is going to take billions of dollars and just a lifetime of trial and error.
It is, it's a deeply agonizing scenario to picture.
Yeah.
Having the theoretical building blocks for a solution, but lacking the practical map to put them together in the real world.
Totally.
And that agonizing gap, between knowing a biological solution is theoretically possible and actually being able to manufacture it safely, that has been the fundamental reality of medical research for a very, very long time.
Wow, yeah.
I mean, it is the bottleneck that defines modern medicine.
And that bottleneck is the absolute focus of what we are unpacking today, because for this deep dive, we're looking at a recent AI News Digest from July 2026,
Right.
which is heavily referencing a massive report out of the MIT Technology Review. And the core mission of our conversation today is to really understand how cutting-edge artificial intelligence is completely upending this traditional high-stakes world of drug development.
It's a total paradigm shift.
It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because to truly understand why this AI revolution is such a monumental deal, we first have to understand the sheer scale of how broken the old system actually is.
Yeah, you really cannot appreciate the elegance of the solution until you grasp the gravity of the problem.
Why?
And the problem with traditional drug development is the compounding nature of its scale. It operates on a timeline and a budget that just completely distort the entire field of medicine.
Distorts it how? Like, practically speaking.
Well, we're talking about a journey from a research lab to a patient's bloodstream that spans well over a decade.
A decade, just for one drug.
Easily. And it requires what the MIT Technology Review sources accurately describe as a monumental investment. So the financial ripple effects of this system dictate everything about what gets cured and, unfortunately, what gets ignored.
When I was reading through the source material on this, the image that kept popping into my head was someone trying to navigate an endless high-stakes labyrinth in the pitch dark.
That is a very accurate way to put it.
Like, you're a researcher, right?
Yeah.
You enter this maze of potential chemical compounds, and you just have to start walking blindly. You take a left turn, meaning you spend, 3 years and $100 million, testing a specific chemical compound in early trials.
Mm-hmm.
Then you hit a dead end when it turns out to be toxic to the liver in phase 2.
Exactly.
So you have to turn around, go all the way back to the start, and try a right turn. And that's another 5 years, another $500 million, and another dead end when it just doesn't work in phase 3. Every single dead end in this dark labyrinth costs billions of dollars and years of time.
And the tragedy of that labyrinth is the relentless failure rate. I mean, the sources point out that only a fraction of a percent of these candidate drugs ever actually make it to the market.
A fraction of a percent? That's wild.
Yeah, the vast majority of the time, researchers are hitting those dead ends late in the game, after the money is spent. What's fascinating here is how that 99% failure rate fundamentally distorts the priorities of the pharmaceutical industry.
How so?
Well, when the financial risks are that astronomical and the complexities are that overwhelming, it historically limits what human researchers can realistically attempt to cure. The economics force their hand.
Ah, I see. Because no organization can afford to take a wild risk on a rare disease or a highly complex, misunderstood condition if they know the odds are 99 to 1 that they're just going to burn $1 billion wandering in the dark.
Right.
The opportunity cost is just too high.
Exactly. The monumental investment required means the industry has to place incredibly safe bets. Like, if you are going to spend 15 years in that labyrinth, you need to be absolutely certain that the prize at the end of the maze is going to recoup those billions.
Makes sense. It makes the entire medical pipeline inherently conservative.
Yes. It pushes development toward well-trodden paths, making slight incremental variations on existing blockbuster drugs.
Like a slightly better statin or something.
Right. A slightly different blood thinner, a slightly better statin, rather than striking out into the unknown to find entirely new classes of treatments for complex diseases. The traditional pipeline is simply too costly and fraught with too much potential failure to encourage true, wild innovation.
Wow. But according to the AI News Digest we're looking at, that conservative, fearful approach to medicine is unraveling.
It is, very quickly.
And it's unraveling because the very nature of what we consider medicine is fundamentally shifting. We aren't just looking for simple chemical compounds anymore. The pipeline isn't just failing because it's slow. It's failing because modern medicine is graduating to a whole new level of architectural complexity.
Yes.
The focus of this AI revolution, the absolute center of it, is on something called biologic medicines.
This is where the old labyrinth completely breaks down. The AI revolution is not just a mechanism to help us find traditional chemical drugs faster. It is the key unlocking a completely different category of therapeutics.
Right.
We are moving away from traditional synthetic chemicals and moving firmly into the era of biologics, which are therapies made from engineered proteins.
Okay, so wait, hold on. Let me just push back on this for a second. Aren't all medicines just, chemicals in a lab? Like, why are these engineered proteins so much harder for human researchers to figure out on their own? I mean, human researchers have mapped some incredibly complex molecules before.
It's a fair question. But the shift from synthetic chemicals to engineered proteins is a shift in multidimensional complexity.
Okay.
Think about a traditional synthetic chemical drug, like, say, aspirin or ibuprofen.
Sure.
It has a relatively basic, fixed, static molecular structure. It is a rigid key that you slide into a rigid lock in your body. Human researchers can map that out on a two-dimensional whiteboard, synthesize it in a lab, and test it relatively easily.
Got it. It's small, it's predictable, and it just stays in one shape.
Right. But biological medicines, these engineered proteins, are fundamentally different. Proteins are massive, incredibly complex, three-dimensional structures made of long chains of amino acids, and they are not static.
Not static meaning they change.
Yes. To understand why they're so hard to design, imagine a protein as an incredibly complex 3D puzzle box.
Okay, a 3D puzzle box.
But the pieces of this puzzle box are made of magnets of varying strengths, and the entire box constantly shifts and folds its shape depending on the temperature, the environment, or the other puzzle pieces around it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The way a protein works, whether it heals a cell or destroys it, is entirely dependent on how it folds into that 3D shape.
So it's not just knowing the chemical formula then, it's knowing the origami of the molecule.
Exactly. Molecular origami.
You have to know exactly how this massive chain of amino acids is going to magnetically pull on itself to fold up into a specific shape once it's actually inside the human body.
And the sheer number of ways a massive protein could theoretically fold is astronomically high. I mean, it is a number greater than the estimated number of atoms in the observable universe.
Wait, really? I can't even wrap my head around that.
Right, which is exactly why sifting through this complex data completely overwhelms human researchers. It is simply beyond the processing power of the human mind to manually map all the possible ways those magnetic charges will interact.
Yeah.
Or how that folding puzzle box might interact with thousands of other shifting puzzle boxes in a patient's body. A human researcher could spend their entire lifetime trying to map a single complex protein pathway and still not fully understand its efficacy or safety as a treatment.
Man. So if human brains physically cannot hold that much multidimensional data, the bottleneck isn't chemistry anymore. The bottleneck is computing.
Yes, exactly.
We need a tool that doesn't just survive massive data, but actually thrives on it. And that is why AI has to step in here.
The dynamic of drug discovery flips completely at this intersection. The AI technologies being harnessed right now are designed specifically to streamline and accelerate this exact process of understanding multidimensional folding. They're built to ingest vast, unfathomable datasets. We're getting millions of data points about molecular structures, physical rules of atomic attraction, genetic interactions, and they analyze them not just for what they are, but for what they will do.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because the way this AI analyzes the data isn't just about crunching numbers faster, right? It's about prediction.
Yes. Prediction is everything.
Think about an architect designing a massive skyscraper. In the olden days, an architect would draw a blueprint, and maybe they'd build a little physical scale model.
Right.
But they wouldn't really know for absolutely sure how that building would handle, say, a massive 8.0 earthquake until the building was actually built and the ground started shaking in the real world.
That's a great way to think about it.
The traditional drug pipeline is exactly like that. You build the drug in a lab, you put it in clinical trials, which is the earthquake, and you just pray the foundation doesn't crack.
And if it cracks in phase 3 clinical trials, you've just lost $1 billion in 10 years of research.
Exactly. But what the AI is doing now is like an architect who doesn't just draw the blueprint, but instantly runs a digital simulation of a century's worth of earthquakes, hurricanes, and floods on that exact design. The AI isn't just looking at the amino acids, it's learning the underlying physical rules of molecular attraction. It looks at the string of amino acids, understands how the magnetic charges will pull on each other, and perfectly predicts that 3D origami shape it will form.
And it does all of that instantly.
It simulates the efficacy of that potential treatment before a single physical chemical is ever mixed in a lab. It guarantees the skyscraper won't collapse before the construction crew even buys the bricks.
That predictive mechanism is the core of the revolution. The AI is identifying promising molecular structures by applying the laws of physics and biology in a digital space.
Yeah.
It highlights the most viable drug candidates and drastically reduces those financial risks we were talking about earlier. You no longer have to spend $1 billion wandering down a dead end in the labyrinth because the AI has already mapped the labyrinth from above, simulated 1 million different physical paths, and highlighted the exact route that leads to the cure.
It's illuminating pathways that human researchers would completely miss. Because a human researcher is looking at the maze from the ground level, trying to calculate one step at a time.
Oh, and getting stuck.
But the AI is looking at it from a satellite, instantly seeing the entire grid.
And this completely rewires the economics of the pharmaceutical industry. I mean, if we are no longer constrained by the crippling financial risk of physical human trial and error, it frees the industry to pursue entirely new ambitions.
Ambitions they couldn't afford before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you have an AI that can perfectly predict how a complex biologic will behave, you can suddenly afford to go after the incredibly tough targets. You can pursue the rare diseases that only affect a few thousand people.
Oh.
Yeah, you can go after highly complex biological conditions that were previously considered too expensive or too confusing to even attempt to cure. By removing the financial terror of the labyrinth, AI is democratizing the very ambition of medical research.
We've gone from a system that is fundamentally terrified of failure to a system that can simulate 1 million failures in 5 minutes, discard them, and just hand you the one success.
It's incredible.
It's bringing groundbreaking biologic therapies to patients at a speed that was previously science fiction. But the MIT Technology Review Digest highlights a secondary implication here that is just as massive.
Oh, yeah.
The ability of AI to perfectly map and predict these molecular structures doesn't just change how we make drugs. It fundamentally changes who we make them for.
We are moving from the macro scale of populations to the micro scale of the individual.
Yeah.
The integration of AI in drug development isn't just about massive efficiency for big pharmaceutical companies. As we look to the future, this predictive capability holds the promise of highly personalized, incredibly effective treatments. This represents the true dawn of precision medicine.
So what does this all mean for you, the person listening to this right now? Let's translate this into a real-world scenario. Let's say you get sick. Under the old, traditional system, you go to the doctor and they prescribe you a drug.
Right.
But that drug is a one-size-fits-all pill. It was designed for a statistical average of a human being. Maybe it works perfectly for you, maybe it doesn't.
And very often, because it's a blunt instrument built for a statistical average, it causes severe side effects.
Exactly. It might cure your ailment, but it makes you nauseous or it damages your liver because that generic chemical is interacting with your specific, unique biology in off-target ways that the original researchers couldn't possibly account for.
Because nobody is a statistical average.
Yeah.
You have a unique genetic makeup. Your proteins fold in specific ways. Your biological profile is entirely your own. The side effects of traditional medicine are largely the result of a mismatch, a generic key being forced into a highly specific lock.
But with these AI-driven innovations, the medical field can now tailor therapies to your individual patient profile. We are moving away from that blunt, one-size-fits-all synthetic pill and moving toward a biologic therapy that has been custom-engineered for your exact biological architecture.
It's revolutionary.
The AI analyzes your data, looks at your specific proteins, and helps design a targeted treatment that works seamlessly with your body's unique puzzle boxes, ensuring better outcomes and drastically fewer side effects.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we are looking at a monumental shift in the entire paradigm of human healthcare.
Yeah, monumental is the word.
For centuries, medicine has been fundamentally reactive and generalized. You wait until you present symptoms, and then the medical system throws a generalized, mass-produced chemical at the problem and hopes your individual body reacts well to it.
Fingers crossed, right?
Right. But what this MIT Technology Review Digest is outlining is a definitive move toward proactive, highly individualized care. Precision medicine will become the standard foundational norm, not the luxury exception.
That is a staggering shift in perspective. It means that in the future, the idea of taking a generic pill that makes you feel awful just to cure a disease will seem as archaic as bloodletting.
It really will.
It'll seem absurd that we ever treated highly complex individual human beings like mass-produced machines rolling off an assembly line.
It forces us to respect the overwhelming complexity of human biology. By understanding that complexity through the lens of artificial intelligence, we are finally able to engineer solutions that work in harmony with it. We are no longer fighting the body's intricacies with blunt instruments. We are speaking its language.
So when you put all this together, escaping the incredibly expensive dark labyrinth of traditional drug development, mastering the multidimensional origami of protein folding, and actually delivering custom side effect-free therapies to individuals, it feels like we are finally crossing a threshold.
We are.
We are moving from a medical system that is agonizingly slow and fraught with failure to a future where AI decodes the deepest complexities of our biology to deliver precision healthcare.
It is the realization of a promise that the medical field has been striving toward for generations. We finally have the computational power to match the biological complexity.
But, as always, whenever we encounter a technological leap this massive, it leaves us with something deeper to chew on. We started this deep dive by imagining a life-saving medication trapped in a maze and the agony of not being able to reach it.
Right.
Now we know AI is the map to get it out. But think about the ultimate trajectory of this technology.
Okay.
If AI can perfectly analyze our vast biological data to engineer proteins that fix diseases, if it can understand our unique individual profile so perfectly that it can custom-build molecular machinery to heal us without side effects, how long before that exact same technology is used not just to heal our ailments, but to optimize or enhance our natural human biology entirely?
That is the big question.
Right. If we can perfectly map the labyrinth of the human body, what happens when we decide to start rearranging the walls?
It's a fascinating and maybe a slightly terrifying frontier.
It really is. Well, thank you so much for joining us on today's deep dive. We'll catch you next time.